Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your boy MagMongoSlade. Today we're going to talk about AEW Dynamite, May the 1st, 2023. Oh boy. Another episode of Dynamite that is not good. I know it featured Rampage. We don't watch Rampage over here. I don't care what they do. They can set somebody on fire for Rampage. I ain't watching it. So, as soon as the Kenny Omega angle was over, I was out of there. I was like, I didn't have my AEW feel for the night. I am done. My shift is over. I punched out. All right. So, let's talk about this show. News and notes. Nothing really. Nothing major took place. So, there's no need to get into any news and notes. Anything that comes to mind, I'll just bring it up during the show. So, the big question going into the show is who's going to be taking over now that Tony Khan is down and out. He can't travel. The answer is given to us almost immediately, and the answer is the EVPs. So the Young Bucks plugged one of the holes in the story immediately by saying they have ironclad contracts with founders clauses, so they can't be fired. And if Tony Khan cannot perform and he can't travel, then they run the show. The EVPs run the show. Now, of course, Kenny Omega was advertised for the show, which lets you know that they're doing a heel EVP versus babyface EVP angle. So they did a new show open, which only featured the Elite, which is Jack Perry themselves and Kazuchika Okada. I actually thought it wasn't too bad. It was actually kind of funny. Very interesting. Of course, this is reminiscent of when the NWO took over Nitro, essentially. Except for they have the NWO with actual power. And so they make their presence known throughout the show. At one point in time, Swerve Strickland's in the ring. He wants to know who his opponent is. The Young Bucks showed up to give him his opponent, because Swerve Strickland said that them attacking Tony Khan was a bitch move, and he gonna stand on that. So then they said they chose his first opponent, and his first opponent is Christian Cage. You know, Christian Cage, who lost the last match that he was in and has not been on TV in a month. Now, that was the first thing I said is, what happened to your rankings? But then again, I was like, okay, these guys are heels. Maybe they're going to scrap their rankings. You know, Tony Khan was trying to be merit-based. They're trying to be spiteful, that kind of thing. So you have Christian and his goons, which includes Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus. They jump Swerve Strickland. They rip one of his locks out of his head. Some black wrestling fans are calling it racist because everything's racist, apparently. I don't want to get into that. Don't care. They beat him up. Then Christian actually gives me a good reason for the fight. Christian says that he remembers everything. He remembers when Swerve Strickland and his goons charged Nick Wayne's gym and beat him to a bloody pulp. Nick Wayne is his son now, so now he feels he has to avenge that. He also says that Swerve Strickland embarrassed him at the biggest wrestling show of all time by losing. So now he's going to embarrass Swerve Strickland by taking the world championship from him. And I was like, okay, they did a really good job of trying to explain why Christian is mad at Swerve Strickland. You know, they picked up on some plot threads. So this is okay. No, Christian should not be main eventing a pay-per-view, especially not is this the flagship pay-per-view, would you say, for AEW, Double or Nothing? I think Double or Nothing is sort of like their flagship. They're bound for glory. You know, I wouldn't say they're WrestleMania, but they don't have, that would be like All In. But maybe their Slammiversary, let's say. Because I know Bound for Glory is like TNA's WrestleMania. So maybe like their Slammiversary. This would be like their SummerSlam, I guess you could say. All right, so is Christian, should he be main eventing that show? Well, no. This is a TV match as far as I'm concerned. Christian has zero chance of winning. There's just no way Christian wins this match. And it's to me, it's disrespectful to Christian to put him in this position just to lose. I don't like that. Also, would have been nice if he'd got some wins just to get to this point. But also, he's operating on behalf of the heel Young Bucks, so I guess it's all right. But Christian main event in a pay-per-view in 2024 against Swerve Strickland in a match that Christian clearly cannot win seems kind of goofy to me. He better off just doing this on TV and building somebody else. Christian also cut a promo on Swerve Strickland's daughter, saying she's going to give her a daddy that she can be proud of. Oh, brother. Oh, that was deep. So the Young Bucks later said that they were looking for an old friend and that they had been on TV enough. So they decided to pass the torch to young Jack Perry. Jack Perry still says that he wants what's best for AEW. And what's best for AEW was him accepting his position as being the scapegoat. But everybody has to sacrifice. And now the AEW is going to go into a new era, the era of the elite. This leads us to Kenny Omega's promo at the end of the show. Kenny Omega comes out there. He's wearing a nice little suit. This is probably one of the better Kenny Omega promos that he's ever cut. He talks about diverticulitis. He talks about being near death. He talks about not being able to wrestle. And he stops just short of saying that he has to retire. Instead, he says he's not going to give up until every single option has been exhausted, until there's no possible way for him to wrestle again. So he says if there's 5%, there's a 10% chance he's going to take it. He's going to get back in the ring. Talked about being scared. Was going through withdrawals and stopped watching the show until he watched Dynasty, and they gave him the shakes because he was going through withdrawals. He wanted to be the best bout machine all over again. Then he talked about the Young Bucks embarrassing themselves and that there's one more EVP and that part of the power of AEW is now in the hands of the best bout machine. So here comes Okada. Kazuchika Okada comes out there and says he's the best bout machine now after Omega said give him a couple of months and they'll finish their feud. Then he's attacked from behind by Jack Perry and completely destroyed all the sympathy and the entire story that they have been building up to this point. I wish they had not done this. So after Jack Perry attacks Kenny Omega, Okada kicks him a couple of times. Omega starts to fight back. He's throwing punches. He actually does a suplex on one of these guys. Jack Perry's hitting guys with chairs. Then Jack Perry hits Kenny Omega in the stomach with a chair. Then Kenny Omega gets an EVP trigger from the Young Bucks, and then FTR comes out there and saves him from the rest of the damage they were going to do to him. The show goes off the air. It bleeds into Rampage. I promptly left because I was going to give them some credit for the Kenny Omega angle because it was real. There's some reality to it. He really was sick. He really does have diverticulitis. He probably really is not medically cleared. He probably really can't wrestle a full match. But don't tell me that you're this close to death and then immediately start getting beat up. Immediately get hit in the stomach with a chair. And you continue to fight back and you continue to get up. No. If they'd have just left it with part of the power is his, and, maybe the Young Bucks freak out, maybe Okada comes out there and makes a threat, but other people do come out there and stop it before Omega's touched. You blew up the spot at that point. Now you're telling me that Omega can work because he can do suplexes. He can run about. He can get hit in the stomach with a chair. He can take bumps. So he can pretty much work. That takes some of the sympathy out, If Omega had not been touched, let's say if they'd have waited 3 or 4 weeks before somebody put their hands on Omega. You had 3 or 4 weeks of people thinking Omega is a glass cannon at least. You can't touch him. You can't really do anything to him. But when you have him taking bumps, doing stuff in the ring, you get the idea that he's perfectly fine. Do you remember the Kurt Angle thing when he had the broken freaking neck and he was the heel general manager of SmackDown? How he had to try to cover up the fact that he could move and do stuff. You know, that would have been a nice little turn if Kenny Omega had come out there and did all this diverticulitis stuff, and it was actually kind of a way to get the Young Bucks to let their guard down because physically he can't do nothing to them, they can't do nothing to him. And then out of nowhere, he starts doing shit. Like, that would have been fine. Like, if he'd started doing stuff under a mask or something to try to cover up the fact that he has some level of mobility. And you could have toyed with the audience with that. You know, similar to the Junkyard Dog's alter ego, where, you know, he lost to loser leave town, but he would come back under a mask. Like, it's technically dishonorable for a babyface to do. It's a trick on the audience, but the audience is in on it. That's all you really had to do is let the audience in on it. Where Omega can do some stuff. He can't work a full match, but he could throw a kick or a punch or a drop kick or something like that. And you have him do that stuff sporadically throughout the storyline. And every time they say it's Kenny Omega doing this, you know, it's revealed that it's not Kenny Omega doing it. You know, up until the point where he can actually wrestle. I think if you'd have dragged that out, it had been in better storytelling. Going right into him getting hit in the stomach with a steel chair, it's like, okay, so unless he dies right now, that chair shot was not real, for starters. Secondly, you've blown up the story you just spent all this time telling, which everybody knows has a level of truth to it. You know? So, obviously it might be exaggerated for wrestling's sake, but we don't know how true it is. I ain't seen his medical records. And plus, I know it took Brock out, so diverticulitis ain't no joke. So, look, I like the promo. I just didn't like the post-promo physicality, because I think like it gave the Young Bucks a lot of heat, but they already had heat. You know, they already take over the show. You didn't need to go that far. You know, it could have just been oh, you're only one guy. It's two of us. And then in the bylaws, it says we have to vote. You know, like it should have been four of us, but it's only three of us. And now you have to vote, and they vote on everything, and the Young Bucks always vote together. You know, as a way to drag this thing out. That would have been so much better than immediately giving up the ghost and saying, oh, well, Omega can do shit. Like, he about to jump over the top rope at this point. And like, if you can do all that, you can do anything. That was kind of foolish. Kind of foolish, but whatever. Let's get into the rest of this show. The House of Black. They did a vignette between them and Edge. Brody King claims 2 wins over Edge, but he's not the guy that was picked to wrestle this match. It was instead Buddy Matthews. Buddy Matthews and Edge go 20 plus minutes. 20 plus minutes. What on earth? Why was this match 20 minutes? Come on, man. Cut me some slack, brother. Please. There's nothing they did in 20 minutes that they couldn't have done in 15. 12 even. Edge wins with the spear. My God. Come on. Malachi Black earlier in the night says that, you know, it would have been enjoyable for him to put his hands on Edge, but it was more enjoyable for him to watch. After the match, Edge continued to attack Buddy Matthews and was going to do a concerto. Then Lights Out Part 1, Malachi Black appears. Then Lights Out Part 2, Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews disappear. But in between that, Malachi Black almost dared Edge to do the concerto onto Buddy Matthews, and Buddy Matthews was asking for it. Edge didn't do it, though. And that was the end of that. Oh, boy. Later, Edge is backstage. He's a little bit frazzled. When sleepy Kyle O'Reilly walks up to him and says, oh, I got your back. You're a big inspiration for me. And then Edge is paranoid now because he got the black mist spit in his face. So now he's becoming more aggressive. And he's like, hey, Eyes up here, buddy. I guess Kyle O'Reilly's looking at his belt. And so we find out that Brody King is going to wrestle Edge next week. Kyle O'Reilly is going to have his back against the I'm about to call it the Blackpool Combat Club. I'm sorry. The House of Black. And, look. The Edge's desire to work 20-plus minute matches every time he wrestles needs to be curbed. Somebody needs to say, Edge, maybe, brother, maybe you can go 25 minutes. I ain't going to doubt your steez. But how about 12? How about 10? Save your energy, fam. Save your bumps. Go 12 minutes with this guy. Nobody thinks Buddy Matthews is going to win. Go 10 minutes with him and call it a day. Let's save some time for somebody else. I get it that it's, where are they in Windsor? Winnipeg, I'm sorry. I get it there in the Winnipeg, near where he grew up and all this stuff. But still, you don't need to spend that much time on Buddy Matthews. No disrespect to him. Whatever. Also, the lights. Stop turning the lights off. Just enough with the lights going out. Match 2. Samoa Joe defeats Isaiah Cassidy. This match was entirely too fucking long. Isaiah Cassidy, 5 years in AEW. He has not gained 2 pounds because he must be on a strict diet of never gaining weight. And he has had 0 character development. Private Party is the same today as when they walked in the door 5 years ago. How is that possible? It's only possible if nobody's trying. You mean you haven't grown at all in 5 years? 5 years of your career just went down the goddamn toilet? Are you serious? But I will say this. Isaiah Cassidy should get a raise for doing that big flip over the top rope and landing flat on his back. And Samoa Joe walked away. He deserves a raise for that bump. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. Samoa Joe wins with the Muscle Buster. This match was nothing. It meant nothing, and it went too long. Sky Blue ended up challenging Willow Nightingale to a match for the TBS Championship. Said she got her number. Willow accepted it, but also was being very violent in her promo, saying that she was going to mutilate and massacre Sky Blue. I was like, what? Those words don't even make sense coming out of her face. She all big Winnie the Pooh-ish, talking about, I'm going to massacre you. Like, what? Go, sit your happy self down. Anyway, Sasha Banks didn't appear on this show at all. Nowhere to be found whatsoever. And Willow Nightingale says she's got something for her for that cheap shot that she hit her with last week, which is fine. But they're already benching Sasha Banks Monet. I'm sorry. I know people still they get pissy when I still call Edge. I know, man. It is what it is, brother. You're going to have to deal with it. Willow Nightingale. I like her. Chris Statlander. She apologized for causing the ruckus last week, but she don't got to apologize for nothing. And Stokely is still being funny, but nobody pays him any attention, so it is what it is. Orange Cassidy came out there. He cut a promo, said that Chuck Taylor can't wrestle anymore. He has to retire. I almost threw potato chips in the air. Oh, man. Woo. I almost threw confetti in the air. My goodness. I was excited at the thought of that. Excited, I said. In any event. Oh, Chuck Taylor can't wrestle no more. Dang it. Anyway, Trent comes out there. And he says that Orange Cassidy is selfish. That's why Trent can't wrestle no more. Orange Cassidy is trying to attack Trent. Security guards and a bunch of other assorted folks come out there to get in the way. Then Don Callis slithers out. He whispers in Orange Cassidy's ear. And him and Orange Cassidy leave together. They're teasing a heel turn for Orange Cassidy. Forget it. Nobody buys that. Nobody believes in that. I could tell you that much. Next, Chris Jericho versus Shibata, FTW title. One of the worst matches on AEW television history. Now, when I say that, I clearly don't mean that it's on the same level as like Big Swole or Penelope Ford. I don't mean it's that bad. I mean of guys whose names that you know that have bad matches. This one is one of the worst matches I have seen on this program in its 5-year history. Hockey pucks, no selling, no energy, just nothing. This match sucked. This sucked hard. I'm finally starting to really get on the, do we really need Chris Jericho? Like I'm really starting to get there now. I'm like, I've been holding on because I still think Jericho can add something to the product. I'm not one of these people that's like, man, Edge, Christian, Jericho, this show's gotten so old now. I mean, if the young guys will stop getting themselves injured and beat the fuck up, then maybe there wouldn't be so many old guys on this show. But the old guys still have something to add to the program. They know how to refresh their characters and keep what they're doing interesting. Compare Jericho to Isaiah Cassidy. Jericho in 5 years, how many gimmicks has he had? And Isaiah Cassidy is significantly younger, has had one gimmick for 5 years, and has been stuck in the same position. Jericho switches gimmicks every 6 months. I mean, as a way to try to stay fresh, to try to stay current, to try to do something new and do something different. Even if he's failing at it, he's trying. What the fuck is Isaiah Cassidy doing? You know? I mean, it is what it is. I don't want to see him wrestle Shibata. Shibata sucks. I mean, he's boring. I know that you guys liked him in Japan because he chops hard and he kicks hard. I don't care. I don't care about none of that shit. I watched this match. He basically sleepwalked through this thing. He no-sold chops. He no-sold being in a trash can lid, getting hit with a kendo stick. He virtually no-sold getting hit in the face with a hockey puck. I was like, this is just dumb. Let's just end this, please. It eventually ended when Big Bill came into the ring and helped Chris Jericho win. I don't care. I don't care. Next, Claudio Castagnoli defeats Brian Cage. I don't care. I don't care about this. Claudio just lost to Swerve on Collision. We were told that Claudio, Cesaro, this guy was a hidden gem, and Vince McMahon didn't know what he had with this guy. And he's in the exact same position in AEW, except for he has fewer tag team championship wins. He beat Brian Cage, who's a big good-for-nothing goof. Who cares about him? Mariah May is defeated by Serena Deeb because Toni Storm throws in the towel to save Mariah May. I actually didn't mind this. The match itself, it was what it was. But Toni Storm's character is becoming more and more fond of Mariah May. It started out with her not really caring that much about Mariah May, to now she is willing to fight Serena Deeb on Mariah May's behalf. She's trying to protect Mariah May. She's becoming very protective of her, which is the opposite of how this thing started. So you see the growth of Tony's character and the growth of their relationship, and that's fine. Serena Deeb is a good opponent for Toni Storm. She's not going to win, but she's a perfectly serviceable opponent. So that's that. Now, that's the show. The show was no good. None. Not good at all. But let's talk about AEW's business, because maybe I should have talked about this at the start of the show. It's been confirmed now that AEW Revolution did $1 million gate. This was confirmed by WrestleNomics. In fact, the event drew $1,025,829 in ticket sales. Very impressive for Sting's final match. I'm pretty sure they're going to have a very difficult time getting to 1 million again. But they said the event sold 15,000 tickets, almost 16,000 tickets, 15,837. And that it did pretty good. The drop count was about 13,950. So about 2,000 comps, thereabouts. And, not too bad. Not too bad at all. So this was a really good event for them. Sting's retirement made big money for AEW. Compare this to some of the other shows that they've put out there recently, and it ain't looking nearly so good. So Brandon Thurston also went and found the information for Big Business and Dynasty. These are information he got from Polestar. It's Big Business, the Mercedes Moné debut. Sold 7,000 tickets, 423,000 gross in terms of gate. It's far less than I thought it was. I thought the show did 13,000. I thought it did. I must have got it mixed up with Revolution. I thought this show did a lot more tickets than I believe that it really had. WrestleTix had it at 9,000, so they was like maybe 1,500 off thereabouts. For Dynasty sold 6,287 tickets for a gross of $401,000. Oh boy, that's far off a Revolution. Fell off a cliff, as a matter of fact. The big Danielson-Ospreay match didn't even do half the gate of Sting's retirement. This is the same company, a couple of weeks apart, for God's sake. Just a couple. I mean, and we're not talking about, WrestleMania to, Backlash or anything like that. This is just a Revolution is like one of their regular shows. They've done one of those pretty much every year. The difference being, of course, Sting. And then they built the entire Dynasty show around Ospreay, who also was not on the May 1st episode of Dynamite. He also wasn't on that show. Because, he's grinding, bruv. He's already taking time off. In any event, I'm not mad at that, though. Hell, do what you do. Tony Khan's going to pay you. I wouldn't show up at all either, I don't know how true or honest this data that Brandon Thurston has, because I haven't really checked his source. I just kind of looked and, it's interesting. If it ends up being wrong or something like that, just remember that I'm one of these people saying I ain't entirely sure of what this thing, how honest this stuff is. But it's pretty clear from anybody who pays attention that the business between Dynasty and Revolution fell off a cliff. And a lot of that has to do with Sting's retirement. So people are going to be mad that Goldberg called the company corny and all this kind of stuff. And Tony Khan was like, oh, he wanted to work here. I'm pretty sure he did want the bag, but he didn't want to deal with none of the people that you hired. You think you want to wrestle Orange Cassidy for 15 minutes? You got to be kidding me. No, I don't think he wants to do that. That's nonsense. AEW doesn't do squash matches. Well, not when they should, anyway. Because if they did do squash matches, Samoa Joe versus Isaiah Cassidy should have been a squash match. And the final note, I guess, to discuss is Camille Breakhouse, former NWA Women's World Champion. It has been, quote unquote, confirmed, even though she didn't say it, that she has signed with AEW, and she's been signed since February. And she has not come in yet. She didn't say this, so take it with a grain of salt. But she did say that she had been signed since February, but she didn't say where. WWE does typically keep people under lock and key for a little while when they sign them. Unfortunately, most of those people do go into basically witness protection, and they don't even talk. They, like Jacob Fatu, for instance, fell off the face of the earth. Like, he pulled out of a bunch of indie dates, and now you don't hear about him at all, which pretty much tells everybody he's going to WWE. Camille, on the other hand, going out and saying, I've been signed for a little while now. She didn't say where, but it's clearly going to be AEW. I would imagine that her having been signed since February, they're looking to put her in a specific position. Otherwise, she'd have just been brought in by now. Camille is a country girl. I mean, it's all cornbread and green as soon as she opened her mouth. Otherwise, she's a giraffe. At one point, I said that she was basically girl Sheamus. And that's actually a compliment. She's a physical performer. She was great as the NWA Women's World Champion. I'm not sure if she's really going to be treated fairly in AEW. Considering, look at Deonna Purrazzo, for instance. Deonna Purrazzo is nothing in AEW. I don't expect Camille to be much more. She may end up in Ring of Honor for the next month. Who knows? But it would be nice if she was on television doing something. It would be nice if they put her with somebody, maybe as a female bodyguard. That could be nice. That was her role with Nick Aldis for the first couple of years in NWA. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I'm pretty sure there's somebody out there who could use a female bodyguard to enhance his character. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure somebody's there. She's a tall woman too. She's probably about 5'9", 5'10". So she's got the Charlotte Flair height going for her. So hopefully this thing works out and she actually becomes something, and it's not just, another toy for Tony Khan's collection. Because I heard that he's had a couple of women signs, even some women who still wrestling in Stardom, and he just doesn't bring them in. They haven't been doing anything. Like one of the chicks, I think he wrestles in CMLL. He had her signed for over a year, and she still hasn't, come over and done anything in the company. It doesn't make sense to do that, But then again, Triple H had Eric Young under contract for a long time and didn't bring him to television. Praise God. But the fact that he even put money in Eric Young's pocket is embarrassing. But here, I like Camille. I hope she does very well in AEW. I hope she gets a chance. I don't see it because I don't think they take her seriously. I don't think they take women's wrestling that seriously. And they overprotect when it comes to booking, and they don't tend to overprotect new talent when they bring them in. So I expect Camille to come in, probably lose either to Mercedes or Willow Nightingale or somebody like that, and then basically fall off the face of the earth, like Taya Valkyrie. Like, where is she right now, right? So that's pretty much it for news and notes. Tony Khan still walking around with his neck brace on. Still embarrassing himself. He's not cleared to leave Jacksonville. I've never heard that before in my life. I'm injured. I can't leave this general metropolitan area. Huh. Is your neck going to get worse if you go to Tampa? Like if you get on a bus and cross Jacksonville city limits, you all of a sudden, oh, my neck. Your neck going to have a seizure or something? That doesn't make sense. It don't matter. It's okay. It's television. It's TV. Wrap it up. All right. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Skin tone, so why attach yourself and piggyback the wealth you didn't earn or lack yourself? I'm telling you to own up to your own success and failures. It's a reason why these